Welcome to another installment of the Grow You podcast, where we are fueled, we are energized by the idea of helping you grow just a little bit closer to God every day, the person He wants you to be. I'm so honored you join us for this particular conversation because something I'm very passionate, very excited about. It's a topic that I think is so prevalent in our culture today. It's a topic of negativity. Negativity doesn't just have a presence in our culture, man, it is pervasive in our culture. It's something that's constantly tangling up our thoughts and our desires, and it's keeping us from being the people that God wants us to be. So today, our goal is to establish tangible ways for us to be able to overcome negativity with positivity by eliminating griping and complaining from our lives and from the lives of those around us. We're going to replace the negative with the positive by getting gratitude and clarity into our lives. You ready to do this? Ready or not? Here we go. Let's dive in. So the first thing we need to do before we can address the idea of negativity is we need to understand why negativity is so prevalent in our culture. You see, our brains actually have what's called a negativity bias. So a negativity bias is the idea that when things are happening in your life, right, your brain is naturally going to lean towards what is negative. And this is statistically true. In fact, statistically find that we need 5 positive things, 5 positive interactions to overcome one negative. Now focus on that for a second. 5 positive for every 1 negative. That's a dangerous thing to realize, especially when we realize that technology has an algorithm that's designed to continue to feed you what you feed on. So if you click on a link, go to a post, go to an article, watch a video about something that's maybe more negative, that's going to kind of inspire negativity in your mind. The more you click on those, the more you're going to be fed those, and it's going to continue to have a loop of negativity for your life. This goes for all areas, for YouTube, for social media, even for things involved in your streaming services. So be conscientious and know that you have a negativity bias, and there is technology that's feeding off of that. But it didn't just go there. You see, our brains are naturally going to complain about or focus on the things that are going to be causing us more negativity. We're going to be griping more than we're sharing gratitude. So today we're going to focus on what it means to overcome the gripe, right? And we have 2 ways that we're going to be dealing with this. The first way we're going to deal with this is we're going to overcome the gripe with gratitude. We're going to overcome the gripe with gratitude. John Gordon, the author of The Power of Positive Leadership, he says this: abundance flows into your life when gratitude flows out of your heart. That's awesome. Abundance flows in when gratitude flows out. And this is such a powerful concept. It's one that we need to fully come to grips with if we're going to understand how to grapple with gripe. Gratitude is the most important element of that. See, what we believe determines what we create. What we believe determines what we create. And the decision on whether to have gratitude or griping, well, that depends on who you feed. Reminds me of this story of these 2 wolves. There's 2 wolves that are said to live in every person. There's the white wolf of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, self-control, all the good things associated in life. And then there's the black wolf, the wolf of negativity, anger, envy, sorrow, regret, hate, greed, arrogance, self-pity, resentment, guilt, ego. These 2 wolves are constantly battling with the idea of who controls you. But the answer to who controls you, the winner of that fight, is up to you. Because the winner of which wolf wins is up to which one you feed. And this is an idea backed up by Paul in the New Testament as well. He says in Romans chapter 7, verse 15 through 20, he says, I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do. But what I hate, I do. And if I do what I do not want to do, I agree that the law is good. As it is no longer I myself who do it, but the sin living in me. For I know that good itself does not dwell in me. That is, in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do. But the evil I do want to do, this I keep on doing. Now, if I do what I do not want to do, it's no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it. You see, each day we have a decision, we have a choice. The choice to have the white wolf, the one that leads to life, or the black wolf that leads to death. And that's a choice that starts with griping or with gratitude. See, if we choose to gripe and complain and give into the negativity that's in our lives, then the black wolf wins. However, if we choose the greater path of gratitude, the life that chooses the white wolf, then that's going to be a life that's constantly being grateful for what's in it rather than what isn't. In life, we need to choose gratitude for what we have rather than complaining about what we don't. I love the idea that how Mark Batterson, pastor and author, he puts this idea. He says there are basically two types of people in the world, complainers and worshipers. And there isn't much circumstantial difference between the two. Complainers will always find something to complain about. Worshipers will always find something to praise God about. They simply have different default settings. So my challenge to you is change the default setting to choose gratitude daily. Here's a couple practical ways you can do this. Start a thankfulness journal. You don't have to go on Amazon and buy a gaudy, pretty one. You can just get a composition notebook, a simple thing. Every single day, what's one thing you're grateful for? Maybe start your prayer time by thanking God for what he's done rather than going to him with the grocery list that is our desires. Here's a couple super practical ones in my own life. So in our family, what we do is every time we're around the dinner table, I ask two questions. The first question is, what was the highlight of your day? What was something really good that just happened? I love the way that my children sometimes respond. If we're eating quesadilla, they'll be like, thank you, God, for quesadillas. And I'm like, yes, thank you, God, for quesadillas. But the second question is, what do we need to thank God for? So it automatically leans into that idea. What was the best part of your day? What do we need to thank God for? So having that mindset of gratefulness constantly before us. Something I do with our team in student ministry is I always ask the question, tell me something good. That's the way we start off all of our meetings is tell me something good. What's something good that God's doing in your life? And it focuses on the idea of not what's missing, but what is present there and being grateful for that. Now, I'm going to tell you, this doesn't ignore reality when things may not be going great. Okay, I'm not saying that optimism ignores reality. What I'm saying is that when you choose optimism and you choose gratitude, well, you get to create a better reality. It doesn't ignore the reality of what's before you, but it does help create a better reality of what is actually there. So we're going to overcome the gripe with gratitude. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to be shutting down unproductive griping. So to clarify, griping and complaining is not to be confused with informing someone that something is not going well, right? That a mistake has happened or something needs to improve. This is something very important. You want to make sure that if there's organization systems or an unhealthy thing that's happening in a relationship, you want to be able to address those and make sure that that's corrected. However, a lot of the complaining that we have in our lives, a lot of the griping is unproductive. So either we or other people, what we often do in these situations is we don't focus on necessarily what's going to change about what happened or how it's going to change. We focus on what happened. That's what complaining and griping is. It's, can you believe what happened with this? When overcoming unproductive griping doesn't focus on what happened. It focuses on why it happened or maybe how it's going to get rectified. In his book, A Complaint-Free World, Will Bowen, he presents an acronym for the idea of stopping complaining and griping in your life. It's a great one, and so we're going to kind of go through that one together. It's called the GRIPE method, which is just awesome. So the first G in GRIPE is get attention, because oftentimes griping, complaining is just something to get attention for people who may not be getting it in their own lives. Now, we need to realize that when we're doing this in our own lives, we need to ask, what's missing in my life? Am I not getting a healthy, positive interaction with people on a regular basis? Do I need to get more love, affirmation, and attention in a healthy way? So ask that question, and if you're not, then don't get it from complaining to get attention. Get it from healthy avenues. Now, if other people are doing this in your life, then you need to use verbal jujitsu to help get them on the right course. So this is what Bowen says. He says, you want to realize all they want to do is connect with you. You want to ask them maybe questions like what's going well in their lives. And then allow them to just brag or talk or vent about the positive things that are going, maybe not the negative things. And you can ask, kind of leading questions, or what's something exciting happening for you right now? Or what's going well for you? Or even what are you grateful for? When you ask these questions, it gets people's mind frame away from complaining about the bad, but focusing on the good. That overcomes negativity with positivity. So that's the G, get attention. The second reason sometimes people complain or gripe is they want to remove responsibility. So we're going to get gratitude, we're going to remove responsibility. Complaining and griping is a great way for people to try and remove themselves from responsibility, especially when they've made a mistake. Because complaining is used to kind of maintain a social status, right? People use this as a way to keep those relationships good when they make a mistake. Right? It's like, people also use this kind of complaining mindset when they are afraid of the effect of maybe what their actions did. They're going to try and distance themselves as far as they can from their responsibility because they don't want to hurt that social status. This can look like things like, man, I can't believe I have to do this thing. I'm just going to not do it because it's inconvenient. Or people can talk about, oh my gosh, can you believe that guy, did this? Ugh, that's the reason why this is the way that it is. It's not my fault. Things are outside of my understanding, outside of my abilities. It's always the boss's fault. It's always someone else's fault. And it removes them from responsibility to do this. So if you find yourself in this situation where you are complaining to remove responsibility, you need to cut that out. You need to remember that what you do in life, right, has to require integrity. Integrity is doing the right thing no matter what, right? So you have responsibility given to you. You need to work at that responsibility. Remember, everything you do is meant to glorify the God who's given you that responsibility. You have to value integrity and progress too much to cheat on what matters most. Now, if you find other people having this mindset, here's what you do. You got to keep them on the hook, right? Because oftentimes they're going to try and remove that responsibility and not do the thing. So you have to ask them certain questions. If they say, oh, I just couldn't do it, it's impossible. What you give me is too impossible of a task. I can't do it. Ask them questions like, well, if it was possible, how would you do it? Or if this impossible circumstance wasn't here? Or if that person wasn't involved, if it was up to you, how would you do it? Imagine a world where you could. How would you? Now you've placed responsibility back in their corner. They have autonomy, and you've removed the negativity, right? And you've removed an excuse for negligence, okay? So they're going to try and remove responsibility and keep them on the hook. The third thing is inspire envy. That's what people oftentimes do. They want to inspire envy. This is a very interesting element of complaining because oftentimes it isn't socially acceptable to brag about what you have good in your life, right? So complaining is kind of like a bragging tool sometimes. So think about it like this. It's not okay to brag about having a fancy new Tesla or a new house or how beautiful your girlfriend or whoever is. But what is okay to say is, what the most irritating part about having a Tesla is? Figure out where to plug it in, right? Or, gosh, what the hardest part about having a big new house is? Finding a place to put all your stuff. Or, what the worst part about having a beautiful girlfriend is? Oh my gosh, she's always taking 20 minutes to get ready. These kinds of things are humble brags, kind of a thing that's seen through the lens of complaining. So if you yourself are finding yourself doing these situations, what you need to do is, first off, seek validation in a positive way, right? Remember to seek it in the positive, not necessarily in the negative. Not trying to find your validation in some other way. You are a special and unique person that God has made so special. But you don't need to seek validation from others because of what you have. Just know that it is good for goodness' sake. Now, another way that sometimes people will do this inspiring envy is they'll compare themselves to someone else and put that person below them. It's like, oh, my boss is such an idiot. Man, if I was in that position. Or that guy, man, he doesn't know what he's doing. If it was up to me, it'd be like this. We can see this happen with celebrities and all these different things. So remember, we're going to focus on what we have as a positive for its own sake rather than trying to inspire envy in others. But if we feel other people doing this, well, here's a good example of what you can do to be able to maybe take that envy away from them. So one of the big things that you can do is you can just ask them to share some of the positive things about them. Maybe some of the positive things in their lives, positive things that's going on with them, right? But not necessarily doing it against someone else. Hey, tell me about yourself. What's going on well for you? Man, you know what I love about you? You are so good at this. So if, for instance, someone comes in who's late, and they say, gosh, can you believe she's always late? A way you can kind of get that focus on themselves. You know what? One thing I love about you is you're always on time. Because they're trying to compare themselves to someone else. Don't compare. Just say, yep, you were all right. You were on time. And I'm so grateful that you were on time. Or, gosh, can you believe that person? It's like he didn't even care about other people. You know, one thing I do love about you is, man, you do care about people. I'm so appreciative of that. The thing that they're trying to compare themselves against, boom. Eliminate that by just acknowledging it, but not comparing it to somebody else. Okay, so the next thing that's going to be trying to be happening, so we talked about how it's trying to get attention, it's trying to remove responsibility, inspire envy, and establish power. Another thing that people oftentimes will do in those situations where they're trying to have a power dynamic over another one. It's similar to what we talked about with the person coming in late, right? It's comparing yourself. I'm better than that person. See, my status is more important than that person. Bowen says in this situation, if you have two people complaining to try and get you on their side, what you need to do is you need to place the price of the complaint in their corner. So oftentimes they'll complain, these two people are having a dynamic, right? One's trying to say, well, this person's this way, this person's this way. A way that Bowen says to do it is just remove yourself from it and put the responsibility back on them in there. Here's a couple of good phrases he talks about. See, you sounds like you guys have a lot to talk about. Or, wow, that's a lot. I don't think I can help you with that. Or, I'm really sorry that happened. Maybe you should go talk to that person. When you do that, you're deflecting away from yourself when people are complaining, and you're putting the responsibility on them to go deal with the situation. It's accountability. If you find yourself doing that in your own life, ask yourself the question, do I have unresolved feelings towards somebody? Do I need to work through something with this person? If the answer is yes, don't hesitate. Go now. Have that conversation. Have that text. Have that phone call. So sometimes people use complain to get attention, to remove responsibility, to inspire envy, to create power dynamics. The last thing is to excuse a poor performance. This is probably one of the most common. So this is where someone's made a mistake. They're trying to excuse that poor performance. And it's usually something outside of their control. We've talked about this a little bit. But, oh, the traffic sucked. That's why I was late for the meeting. Or, man, if this place wasn't, out of milk, then we'd have pancakes. Or, you know what, if this person wasn't always acting this way, then I would be able to do this. If the boss didn't favor the other person, I'd get the promotion. So when you have a complainer with this kind of mindset, right, we need to ask questions like, well, how can you improve next time? Let's not talk about what happened now. Let's instead focus on what's going to happen in the future. Because if you try and address it now, then they're going to say, well, it's because of this person or this thing. But instead, focus on not what happened, but what's going to happen in the future. And do that with yourself. We can oftentimes think it's someone else's fault. Well, we need to adopt a no excuses mindset for ourselves. To say, you know what? You're right. That thing happened. Boom. No excuses. I need to do something about it. And in the end, one of the greatest ways that you can eliminate combative complaining or griping and negativity is just bring that positivity, ownership in your role, and bring positivity, gratitude, and clarity to a situation. One of the things I talk about with my kids all the time, when something negative happens or when something bad happens, I always tell them, I say, the best you can do is the best you can do. And the rest is up to you know who. And I'm not talking about Voldemort. I'm talking about you know who. And that's all we can do. When negativity or griping or complaining happens in our culture, we can't fix everybody else's problems. Our sole responsibility is to be the positive in those situations, to have gratitude in our own hearts, to clarify what needs to happen in our own lives and the lives of other people, especially those that we lead. But in the end, the best you can do is the best you can do. The rest is up to you know who. Well, big old bummers, because that is an end to another conversation with us here at the Grow You podcast. I'm so excited that you get to share with this every single month. Thanks for welcoming into your ears, into your heart, into your life. I challenge you, if you think someone else needs to hear this, if someone maybe has negativity predominant in their life, they got complainers in their lives, or if they're a complainer themselves, maybe you need to share this with them. I'd be so encouraged if you do that. Post it on social media if you think it's something that other people need to hear or have in their lives, because in the end, this community is going to grow based off of how well you share it with other people in their own lives. I want to give a special shout out to Rachel. Thank you so much for editing this, for setting it all up, for always doing all the hard work. All I do is just talk into this microphone. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much to you, dear listener, for joining us for another week. And my prayer, my hope, my just deepest desire is that you would continue to grow closer to the person that God has made you to be. He set out a vision. The possibilities are there. You just have to reach out and achieve them. But the best way to do it is not with negativity, but with positivity. So be the best that you can be, and let the rest be what it is. We thank you so much. I pray that you would have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next month. Much love, and to your success.
Grow You is a next-gen affiliation with Park Chapel Christian Church in Greenfield, Indiana. Grow You podcast is hosted by Kiefer. Music composed by Marble Space. Like and subscribe on YouTube and/or Apple and Spotify podcasts.